Hello there, welcome back to the booth here at Pro Tour Guilds of Ravnica. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe, and I'm joined by Eduardo Sajgalik, and one more round of draft. It's always bittersweet to say goodbye to the limited portion of the Pro Tour, but we're not quite there yet. We get one more round to go, and this feature match is
we're going out with a bang.
We really are. You'll see the rest when we get down there, but we're going to be starting things off with Shota Yasuoka from Japan playing for Team Musashi, 8-2 record, versus Yuya Watanabe from Japan playing for Team Musashi, also with an 8-2 record, and it looks like they got some spicy brews lined up for us as well. Let's head on down. It's time for the third and final round of draft here on day 2 here from Pro Tour Guilds of Ravnica. Hello and welcome back to coverage here of Pro Tour Guilds of Ravnica. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe. I'm in the booth with Eduardo Sajgalik, and we are all set for round number 11. This is the third and final round of draft here on day number 2. In the feature match area, we have two teammates ready to duel it out. We've got Shota Yasuoka from Japan. He plays for Team Musashi. He's got an 8-2 record coming in to this round. Sitting across from him, boom, Yuya Watanabe, also for Team Musashi, also on 8-2, and also from Japan. So let's get things underway here. Now, I was out looking at some of our feature pod drafters deck lists when I coming into the first round of this draft here today, and I happened to bump into Shota. He was sitting across actually from Jeremy. Or excuse me, not Shota. Yuya was who I bumped into. And man, he had some nonsense brewing on his side. Did you find his deck in there somewhere?
I have, and actually, I think Shota's deck is even more nonsensical.
Okay, so Yuya Watanabe, he came by, so I was standing there talking to Jeremy, and he said, hey, the key to the format. And he pointed to his key cards, and they're at the 5-mana slot, where he has 3 Garrison Sergeant, and one of them in hand. He's running 5 Guild Gates, including one of them that doesn't even tap his mana, or barely even touches his colors. He's got an Izzet Guild Gate and a Celestia Guild Gate, both of which are effectively tap 1-mana lands for his deck. And he's also running Street Riot in the main. So his game plan is to play Garrison Sergeant with the gate, 3/3 double strike, play Street Riot, gives it +1/+0, and trample on his turn and get his opponent dead. Not your normal Boros build here for Watanabe. Now, you said that Shota has some spice going too.
There's a Plains, a Boros Locket after Dimir Gilgate Swamp Island. Do you know what Shota is splashing in what is essentially a Dimir deck?
What is it?
Aurelia, Exemplar of Justice.
Oh, man. All right. Well, we see that Team Musashi not shy about the splashes and the fringe archetypes. And in the meantime, Yuya Watanabe has so far assembled a grand total of 2 power, though with that Garrison Sergeant joining the battlefield, he is now powered up with a double striker that looks very good against only 1 creature on the other side of the battlefield from Shota.
Yeah, and it seems Shota doesn't really have removal. I mean, Necrotic Wound, kind of a nice answer down the line, but Disappearance only going to stop that Garrison Sergeant for a bit.
Yeah, Shota deciding on his upkeep to use Unexplained Disappearance to augment his draw step, and it did. He put an island in the graveyard, drew his turn, and then played, well, the fan favorite, the Wishcoin Crab's done very good work over the course of our 2 drafts here at the Pro Tour, just overperforming relative to what it looked like when we first saw it.
Yeah, you're just like, oh, it's a 2/5 for 4, just whatever. But actually, it turns out it basically blocks everything. If Dowser of Lights is a monster, then the Wishcoin Crab is kind of its little cousin here.
It doesn't die to Ritual of Soot either.
Let's move past that.
All right, so Wall of Mist and another Locket now for Shota Yasuoka. So he's got a lot of his power actually kind of stored up in those Lockets on the battlefield. If he can, well, could he even crack them? Let's see.
The Boros Locket is an ambitious...
That's not happening. How many blue sources does he even have, though? He only has 2 and no red. So cancel that order. Those Lockets are just going to be sitting there for a while. He can't even crack either of them. Oh, man, this build is something else. Shota Yasuoka chump blocking with Wall of Mist on the double striking Garrison Sergeant.
That was an interesting take there. Deciding not to take 6 damage and trading the Wall of Mist for the essentially 6 life. I think Shota's plan here is to just try to power up the Necrotic Wound so that Shota can block the Sergeant with the Wishcoin Crab and just give it the -1/-1 necessary to kill the crab. But that true Fire Captain going to be able to pump the Sergeant potentially here and make life very difficult for Shota. I think Yuya's a little ahead here. Just the board is so gigantic here between that True Fire Captain and that Garrison Sergeant, and Shota doesn't really have a convenient answer yet.
Let's see if he finds one. Whispering Snitch is not going to get the job done, and you see he doesn't hit a land either. If he finds a blue or a red source, he could crack the Izzet Locket, but currently unable for either of them.
Yeah, and I mean, Yuya may be going for the Bogle's plan of having a double striking creature and pumping it up with that Candlelight Vigil. You know, you're in limited, so you don't get to play with Slippery Boggle and Daybreak Coronet, so you're going to just make do with what you have in Garrison Sergeant and Candlelight Vigil. A little bit of a different take on the combo. But yeah.
A little bit of a different take, yes.
Yeah.
Subtle.
Subtly different. I don't know if you can spot it from home.
You know, sometimes when your draft doesn't go exactly the way you want, you have to get a little creative.
Yeah, but I think Yuya was looking, Garrison Sergeant, as you go into the Pro Tour and everybody's jockeying for position, trying to draft one of these 5 guilds, one of the ways you can get a much better deck in your seat than normal is going, you know what, let's get one of these salvage archetypes. We saw yesterday Ben start going for Goblin Electromancers and Devious Cover-Up kind of tempo. Yuya went for this kind of Gate Naya-esque deck. Well, it's really, Boros with Garrison Sergeant going in.
Yeah, that's what it really is.
But splashing for a little more sweetness, potentially. But yeah, here you see that
this
attack.
Is huge pressure now from Yuya Watanabe. He gets the Mentor trigger onto the Sergeant, which is going to prompt effectively a chump block from this Wishcoin Crab. And the board state for Yasuoka is diminishing quickly. He lost 2 of his creatures here, and he's still facing down some serious pressure. Next attack step from Yuya Watanabe is going to be everything unless he can come up with something. And here it is, another Garrison Sergeant. We haven't even seen the Street Riot yet, but that would really do it. Oh, and look at this. Shota Yasuoka has pieced together a little bit of removal here with Necrotic Wound to finish off the first Garrison Sergeant, but there is no rest for the weary. Shota's facing down that second copy of it anyway. Yuya taking some notes about the graveyard there from Yasuoka. And, well, he found a Centipede. Still not going to get the job done, though.
Yeah, this is a very... I mean, Yuya's still slightly ahead. I think with that combat step, now it's going... Street Riot.
Oh, he found the Street Riot off the top of the library. And now you see the real big hitters. As long as it's his turn, his creatures get +1/+0. And critically for the double striking Garrison Sergeant, trample as well.
Yeah, you're not chop blocking this thing anymore. And yeah, Shota doesn't have an answer. That's it.
And you even see him smile there. He's like, I actually did it. I put the combo together. Great stuff from Yuya Watanabe. I told you, he tracked me down to say this is the key to the format. Now, it was a little tongue-in-cheek, but maybe he was right because he just got game number 1 with his super combo. Garrison Sergeant and Street Riot, and even Shota has to say, I guess you earned this one. We'll go to game number 2. When we come back from this short break, we'll bring you updates from our back tables and finish our main match as well. We'll see you then.
Up your game with Ultra Pro Magic the Gathering accessories. Find the best Magic art on card sleeves, deck boxes, playmats, and more. Visit ultrapro.com to learn more and find a retailer near you.
And welcome back to the feature match area here in Atlanta, Georgia. Marshall Sutcliffe with Eduardo Sajgalik bringing you coverage of the last draft round of the tournament. And we just saw Yuya Watanabe win in impressive and creative fashion his first game over Shota Yasuoka. I promise you updates on the side tables. I've only got one. Luis Scott Vargas with a quick game one victory over Willie Adel, who played mono white.
All right.
At least in the game he did, and that certainly didn't work out for him because, as our floor reporter Tim Willoughby said, that's not a guild in Guilds of Ravnica.
He was lacking the second part of his Tajik Legion's edge.
Okay, so perhaps we'll see Boros out of Willie Adel a little bit later. But in the meantime, let's get back underway here in game number 2. Yuya Watanabe bringing a bit of a combo deck to the field here somehow, and he was able to assemble his combo. Unfortunately for him, his first play of the game is a Wojak Bodyguard, and that thing on its own, not where you want to be.
Pace of play.
Yeah, they are playing extraordinarily quickly. I love it. And look at this. The perfect follow-up, though, to the Bodyguard is Sky Knight Legionnaire. It enables an attack. It even gets that first counter on there.
I mean,
and wow, no block.
Yeah, that's impressive. Shota going, I'm racing you.
And he knew right away, too. Wow, these guys are playing so quickly. I love it. And we have a full-on race. You have to favor the red-white deck in a race, generally speaking, but you got to think.
And that's why. That's why Shota decided to race. Shota, with that artful takedown.
He may have just artfully taken down Yuya Watanabe in this game, although it does look like he has his signature card here.
Boros Locket.
not that one. The Garrison Sergeant. And, of course, he does have a gate. He's playing 5 gates, including 2 that are producing colors that he doesn't even have spells in. He is straight-up Boros, but he can make 4 colors, which is kind of interesting. So he has a 3/3 double striker now, and maybe something that will give Shota Yasuoka pause. He does have a Veiled Shade and 6 mana available, so he could make the Shade a 5/5, or in this case a 4/4, and attempt to trade off.
Yeah, probably we're going to just see Locket go. Veiled Shade 4/4, as you mentioned, can trade. A pump spell on this Bodyguard would be huge from Yuya, but maybe doesn't have access to it since, again, pumping the Bodyguard would mean attacking here for
There's
for
this
4.
Street Riot.
That kind of works, too.
Yeah, they're both going to be equally pumped up, though, to 4, so there will be no Mentor trigger.
This is...
Yuya's doing the math, though, and the math gets crazy when you talk about trample plus double strike. All the rest just carries over to the player.
Yeah, and this is a really rough spot for Shota. I mean,
That's
Shota,
8.
Plus the 4 from the Bodyguard, just
Right.
happening to be there. And Shota, I mean, you're not going to be able to swing back for 14. So taking a 12 here may be too much. And this is a really rough spot for Shota. Shota is a little low on cards. And Yuya with this combination of pressure and has more resources available to him. So this is going to be really hard for Shota to come back.
You know, a little tongue-in-cheek, but we called it the combo deck. This is the combo. He has the 2 pieces. They're both 5 mana.
Yeah.
But
The people on the street, they're rioting. The Garrison Sergeant is ready to take them down.
hey,
It's all the flavor, right? It's all about the flavor of Guilds of Ravnica.
that's what Yuya was thinking primarily while drafting. And once again, he can do nothing but smile. Tim told us that they had a little chat walking up as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So essentially, just laughing like schoolboys, saying like, your mana base looks a little shaky, you know, the Dimir Gilgate into Boros Locket.
Yeah,
And then Shota just looks at you as like, Selesnya Gilgate is a Gilgate. Yeah, you're talking, buddy.
yeah, Yuya Watanabe was teasing Shota about his mana base while walking up, and as you can see, neither of them with a whole lot of wiggle room as far as mana base teasing goes. But in the meantime, Shota takes his medicine here and trades off for the Wojak Bodyguard, but he should have taken a very large damage hit. Perhaps the life totals are flopped here, because he took the full 8 during that attack.
There we go. But yeah, here the logical block, Shota hoping to draw a removal spell for this Garrison Sergeant.
He is kind of all in on it, right? If you can clear away the board, the Street Riot does nothing. It's a 5-mana spell that Yuya played and will have no effect. It's just you have to have a removal spell for every creature he plays to make
Right. And hoping that Yuya doesn't have too much follow-up. But between Shota not drawing...
Let's see what Shota had.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, between Shota
Locked
not drawing
flooded.
the removal spell and this... There's a Locket's in play. But, yeah,
So
still...
that's not in his hand? Okay.
Yeah, but I don't think Shota drew a removal spell. At that point, Garrison Sergeant plus Yuya has more of a follow-up. House Guild Mage, if that wasn't play, that would have been really strong, enabling to stop this Garrison Sergeant.
Yes.
But here...
Summoning Sickness.
Trample, you know what Trample and Double Strike means here? It means Shota is going to be forced to double chump block and go to 1.
I'm telling you, Yuya figured it out. He assembled the combo.
Yeah.
And with any other action, he just wins the game on the spot. But in the meantime, they both have to block, and that still slams Shota Yasuoka's life total down to a paltry 1, and there's 2 more lethal threats. There's no way for Shota Yasuoka to get out of this without a sweeper of some sort, and nothing doing. He finds a land. Now,
A Plains.
perhaps...
Very specifically. He found a Plains in his Demir deck.
Very good point. He draws a Plains. It looks like he has just enough to crack the Is It Locket, but... he plays the Plains and then scoops him up. Good stuff from Shota Yasuoka. A little bit of showmanship down the stretch, but it is, in fact, Yuya Watanabe who wins the match 2-0 with his combo deck. Now he can go back to regular Magic. He's going to play Standard after this, but I love that Shota played the Plains before conceding. All right, we're going to go to our back table now, where we've got, boy, I'm telling you, the matchups in our feature match area this round were just awesome. Paul Rietzl is playing against Reid Duke, both teammates, once again, Ultimate Guard Pro Team members, and they're both at 8-2.
Is the term team aside?
Team aside?
You know, when you have to fight your
team
own...
aside.
You have to fight your own team member?
No, I believe you just made up a new word.
That's fine.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm trying to find... Yeah. I've had this situation before, and facing a teammate, I mean, it's nice at 8-2, I guess, right? Like, it can only go well. But yeah, here, we're still seeing the developing turns. Paul taking down the first game and looking in pretty good shape here. The wall being a really key card in these Golgari decks. And yeah, here the bat's being taken care of, though, and that Skynet Legionnaire free flyer, really important for Reid to keep it going.
How about Friendly Fire?
Friendly fire?
Yeah.
That works.
Okay.
But it's you're kind of forced to do the friendly fire, right?
That is true. That is true.
But yeah, here, one of the more interesting cards in Paul's deck for this matchup are 2 Plate Crafters. Normally, with these vines, a really nice card to have access to. But essentially, Plate Crafter, if Paul can deal with something like that fresh-faced recruit, then takes down the Skynet Legionnaire. But the fresh-faced recruit, I mean, it's just standing there. There's just 2 vines. It can't really do much. So we're kind of in a situation where these 2 fresh-faced recruits are just Plate Crafter fodder.
Sacrificing the summoning sick one? Okay.
Yeah. So you can hear the really, it's unclear what's going on here. So, it's unclear necessarily which one dies. So Paul being very clear about the summoning sick one.
Lot riding on that Sky Knight Legionnaire here for Duke. It is the cleanest form of damage that he has currently. In the meantime, Portcullis Fine's going to get cashed in, and there is Ritual of Soot. That's going to take care of every card on the battlefield. What is the recovery plan now for Duke?
It's let's see, with what's in play, I think Duke is just going to play another fresh-faced recruit.
Wow.
It is one of the key cards of the Boros Legion, like the hard-working, dead-weighted fresh-faced recruit. Although it seems like that card was played already, so it wasn't in the hand there. The Boar Hill Giant. But Reid with Conclave Tribunal, with that second integrity intervention, capable of taking care of at least 2 of Paul's threats. we're probably going to see the Conclave Tribunal take down this gargoyle. Or wait, what? Yeah.
Yeah, that'll happen. Beautifully sequenced, by the way, by Paul Rietzl, just getting full value from his portcullis finds and then following up with his biggest threat, the gargoyle. It does get taken care of by that tribunal, as we just mentioned, but still, nice work by Paul, though he still has some work to do. Also, what kind of alternate universe are we living in here where Rietzl is playing green-black and somehow Reid is the Boros player here?
Yeah, they probably should have swapped decks beforehand to stay on brand, right?
I feel like that.
Yeah.
But the hits keep coming here for Paul Rietzl. He's got Vigor Spore Worm now, which outclasses that Rubble Belt Boar. And that's citywide bust to take care of just the worm, but leave the boar on the battlefield. And Paul Rietzl's life total is falling. That's back-to-back removal spells for Reid Duke to kill the big blockers. And Paul may be out of gas at this point. He was down to just a forest before that draw step. Oh, Molder Hulk. I spoke way too soon. So it was...
So many big creatures.
4/4 flyer, 6/4 worm, 6/6 Molder Hulk, all in a row. Yep. And Reid finds a way still to push through damage off the top of the library. He finds a Sky Knight Legionnaire. Paul's clinging at 6 life, but with a removal spell, he could surely take control of this game. This is going to be very close.
Yeah, but redrawing that Sky Knight Legionnaire gave him the slight advantage. If with Reid having that integrity intervention in hand, it means that essentially 2 attacks from the Legionnaire are enough, and the 6/6 Molder Hulk in play needs 3 attacks. Plus, with that boar that can throw itself in the way, Reid is winning the race. And it's going to really come down to Paul needing to draw the right card. But Reid is still drawing cards, right? Like, it's going to be, as you say, really close. But Reid would have been behind if it wasn't for that Sky Knight Legionnaire. This integrity intervention going to be acting as kind of the final points of damage rather than a removal spell.
Yeah, it's even a shorter clock than it looks, thanks to that card.
Even the gaining free life might matter if Paul has another creature here. Oh, but it's not one.
Fine Broker. And then he can play Bardisan Bats as a blocker. What a huge play.
That was a humongous draw from Rietzl.
Boy.
Now Reid can get rid of the bats, but that clock is not going to be enough.
It's 3 turns, but he will lose in that time frame without a bunch of blockers at least.
Yeah, and I think Paul has taken back. That Golgari Fine Broker, a really big swing back. And now it depends what Reid drew, but that appears to just be a land.
Such a great game here between these two players. Paul Rietzl looks like he's the one that took down game number 1. And there it is, intervention to kill the bats. Now that will put Reid up to 10 and Paul down to 4. Reid needs to find 2 more turns to stay alive.
Yeah, I mean, a Take Heart, 2 boars, 2 Rubble Belt boars, a Take Heart off the top. Those are the cards that can really, many Sky Knight Legionnaires. I actually didn't notice how many Reid has so many ways to push damage, a key integral part of red-white decks. So I'm going to say that because of that, Reid has a chance. It's going to be really close, and Reid is living off the top of the deck.
So he has a 3rd Sky Knight Legionnaire that he can draw to win the game. He is playing 3 copies of Rubble Belt Boar. There's 1 on the battlefield, so he's got 2 more of those.
Yeah.
You mentioned Take Heart. He has 2, but he's only playing 1 in the main. Now, this is a sideboarded game, but we'll assume he still has just the 1.
Yeah, and here, I mean, and Reid here will have a difficult turn. The Molder Hulk and the Fine Broker together, the thing is, Paul needs a blocker, right? You can't just attack with both, since Reid can just go, you know what? I'm going to take it and go to 1, and then just attack back. So if Paul didn't draw a creature, this is an attack for 6, and then this might actually be the 2 turns for Reid here.
That's right. He's going to get in.
Reid is winning the race
this turn as Reid just cashes in the board now while the getting's good. Untaps. Can he find the win right now?
10-4.
No.
Yep.
He's got a pair of planes in his hand. It looks like.
Go.
Yes, and he just plays it and says go. Reid Duke is hanging on if Paul can find a way to get through for 1 additional
That's a play
damage.
crafter off the top, I believe.
Was it really? If it's a play crafter, then Paul Rietzl all of a sudden is right back in action with another top deck.
His advantage bar is just going
And
wild.
there it is. It's play crafter to kill the last threat from Reid Duke. He needs to find a Sky Knight Legionnaire, and he can't. Paul Rietzl wins the match 2-0 in a flurry of top decks. What a way to end that round. Paul Rietzl 9-2. Duke still hanging on at 8-3.
That was a game. Swings and roundabouts, Marshall. Swings and roundabouts.
Boy, I'll tell you what, there's something about watching two teammates play, not just the extra drama, but they're comfortable with each other where they tend to play even quicker than they normally do.
Oh, no.
We saw that from both the Musashi players and the Ultimate Guard Pro Team players, and it makes it even more exciting. Great stuff from our players so far, which means we've got one left. Now, Jeremy Touzani, we watched him draft this deck. We were not thrilled with the power level of the deck, but we also noted that the power level of the average deck at the table probably wouldn't be so high as well.
Yeah.
He is 1-1 coming in and down a game, so he's trying, after coming in undefeated last night, to scrap out a 2-1 with this deck, and he's got a tall order here.
Yeah, medium Boros. I actually had
Yeah.
the chance to talk to him, and he mentioned that he decided to take that 10th District guard, understanding that when the packs may be weak. It's not necessarily that they are, but they may be, and could have also always gone to blue. But two factors. When the packs are weak, you know what's good? Damage.
Yeah, creatures, removal spells, etc. I mean, that was a leap of faith from him, though, because he had seen a total of 2 packs at that point. Like, how do you know the packs are going to be weak at that point? But also, you mentioned to me that the testing team that Jeremy's on, the Haruruya Sword, didn't have blue quite as highly as some people do, and maybe he didn't really want to be in blue at all. His first pick, by the way, was a Watcher of the Mist.
Yeah, it actually turned out that blue was the worst color.
Okay.
For that team, you know. But that's not because the blue decks are necessarily bad. It's just because everybody was rating them highly. So, you know, as a force of the draft self-correcting, well, turns out blue may not be where you want to be just because...
You're fighting.
Yeah, so rather let's be in these other colors. I mean, we kept seeing in these draft abs and cards going late. So being in that position, you know, after the draft is over, you know, if you're home, like you're going to see all these abs and cards go late. You know, green, white, black cards may incentivize you to go in these guilds just because they're open. And you can see here, Nathan Eager was more than happy to be in the Selesnya deck that is, you know, in a Selesnya deck like this with center Peacemaker, that's a deck that really loves being facing these aggressive decks. Already taking down game 1 in what is a favorable matchup.
That's right. Now, in the meantime, though, Jeremy Touzani with a big move towards getting Nathan Eager's life total down to 0. He plays Gird for battle, and that gets him also, he gets the mentor trigger as well. So that was a big attack there. 3 in the air and 4 on the ground, and Nathan's down to 15.
Yeah, and it seems like Touzani had access to a Rubble Belt boar, deciding not to deploy it to try to get maximum value off of this mentor. Maybe here, and this is a hard attack, Jeremy may decide to Luminous Bonds the Centaur, but here going for the boar and deciding to deal more damage.
He's just going to get it in the air. Uh-oh. And there it is, that crushing canopy from Nathan Eager. We've seen him use that twice now, both to very good effect, taking down just a little Healer's Hawk.
Yeah, and with the hand from Nathan, the Venerated Loxodon, and the Rock Charger, Nathan's going to have a turn with probably no blockers, but then that's going to be a hard wall of defense for Jeremy to get through.
Boy, I'll tell you what, each time we see Nathan Eager on camera here, his deck, look, it's pretty powerful, but the matchup just seems so bad for his opponent because he's just making these huge creatures. He's gaining life. Now, he is going to take a pretty big hit here. That's 8 damage.
Yeah, but then how do you go through? Jeremy doesn't have a ton of evasion or reach, so this is going to be tough. Like, that 8 damage may be the last that Jeremy deals. That said, it's going to give Jeremy a lot of time. Nathan probably going to attack here with the Rock Charger since it doesn't block very well here, and Nathan will have more threats to deploy. So we're probably going to see the Rock Charger come in. I mean, we have to start dealing that damage at some point, but then deploying a bunch of blockers and going to make Jeremy's life difficult.
Man, oh man, Nathan Eager just filling the board up with creatures here. And yes, he is facing 2 big threats, but, you know, you called it medium Boros, which I think is an accurate way to describe it. You know, coming just off of that Reid Duke match, we saw he had 3 Sky Knight Legionnaires, right?
Yeah.
0 for Touzani. He just didn't get any.
Right.
This is the type of thing that we're talking about that differentiates the really good Boros decks from the ones where you kind of got to get creative. Now, maybe not Yu Watanabe creative, but creative enough with combat and such. And that's what Touzani's trying to do here.
Yeah.
Now what? Oh, an Indrik as well. Now, the good news for Touzani is that both of his creatures are 4-powered anyway, so it'll just be a trade. The bad news for him is that if he loses this boar, the Wojak bodyguard can no longer attack. And we could see
Or block.
or block. We could see a huge attack here from Eager.
Like, now Nathan is going to rethink, because the deck lists have been, it's a feature draft, the deck list gets shared. Nathan is going, what haste creatures does Jeremy have? Oh, I'm good. Let's go. Yeah. And here, you're just seeing like this huge swing, right? Jeremy at 25. Doesn't really matter in the face of this much damage. A total of 10, and in 3 turns, Jeremy is going to be taken down, especially if he can't draw a creature. Wait, was that Graphitic Punch? I'm not sure. It might.
We'll find out shortly, won't we?
I mean, it is in Jeremy. It was a pickup for his sideboard, I believe, earlier in the draft. Yeah. Okay. So and apparently both players have substantially sideboarded a lot of cards. And here, what's the attack for? Let's see. This is free damage plus. I think Jeremy is trying to set up the 1-2 punch. Jeremy has, yes, that is the punch in Jeremy's hand here, which we can see. He basically has another land, so he's like, you know what? I'm not going to let Nathan know about this.
And do it all in one turn?
Yeah, just discard whatever card I draw, play the land for you. That is a huge draw for Touzani.
Wow, 1-2 punch indeed, my friend. He is setting it up. Now he does need to survive. Let's see how much damage he stands to take here. 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, and Nathan going, you know what, I can't kill you in one attack, so I'm going to take a partial attack here and try to take you down next turn.
Woodshaper now. Is there anything that he can find?
Peacemaker would, the center would have made the job, but,
He didn't have the mana, did he?
Nope. So we're playing that Dissident, and we're going to get 1-2 punched.
Wow, and Jeremy Touzani has nothing he can do. He just shows him the Gravitic Punch, puts it in the yard, and says, I'm going to try to do 8 damage to you, and it works. Jeremy Touzani, this is exactly what I was talking about when I said you need to get creative. You need to find ways to win that aren't the standard issue, and he did that in game number 2, and boy, did you see the head shake there from his opponent?
Nathan thought he had it locked up. He's like, what could happen? I have a huge board. I'm at 7.
He looked shell-shocked. I mean, what just happened? Look at him.
That was quite the situation. I'm still.
Yes, I knew.
I'm really like Nathan. This is like, I had it. I was gonna take this draft down. What? Like, if you looked at that board and didn't look at the player's hands, you'd be like, Nathan has. This is it. Nathan's just won.
We've all felt like that before, and you know what he's doing now is he's saying, what if I just attacked with everything both turns? Could I have gotten my opponent dead? Because, look, he was concerned, I guess, about a haste creature or something along those lines. But, maybe if he just would have been like, attack with everything, show me a haste creature. And if he doesn't have it, he goes, attack with everything again, I win the game.
But you know what was that key turn?
What was that?
He attacked, I believe, a little earlier into Jeremy's big turn with the 8 damage.
That's right.
And that's what he's thinking back on.
That's right. That was
like,
big...
the Venerated Loxodon turn? That was what he fought back on when he got Luminous Bonds and attacked for 8. He was thinking, was that the turn? Should I have waited on the Loxodon? Should I have developed a better board?
You can tell that Nathan just feels like he had a game just stolen from him right underneath from victory. He thought he was going to win that, and he was going to take down the match. But crafty Jeremy Touzani, sitting on the other side of the battlefield, says, not so quickly. This is the Pro Tour. This is tough business, and we're going to get a Game 3 between these two. Also, by the way, updates, Luis Scott Vargas wins his match 2-1 over Willie Adel. So that one's in the books. And then we saw Paul Rietzl win as well as Yuya Watanabe. So this is the last one going in the feature match area. And I mentioned it before, but this is our last round of Limited for the tournament. And after this one's over, we're going to be cruising right along and heading into Standard.
Sure. And I do want to point out, with that Loxodon thing, I think Nathan was correct. You have to put pressure on the Boros player. It did look bad, but Nathan had to believe that it was removal spell, which he didn't know about, but also the follow-up, because after Nathan untaps, how is Jeremy pushing for damage, right? Like, you might take damage, but then you can't. And Nathan is right to try to develop the board in order to take Jeremy Touzani down as fast as possible. It's just that Jeremy drew the card. put it in his deck, and drew it. And that's what it came down to. I think Nathan took the right line. Unfortunately here, Jeremy put the Gravitic Punch exactly for this reason, knowing that it's going to be a hard matchup without that reach, put the reach in the deck and just 1-2'd it. What a game ending.
What a finish for Jeremy Touzani. Now, you can tell, though, the matchup looks rough, right? He had to sneak in some damage there, perhaps have Nathan leave the shields down for a moment, and then even find that Gravitic Punch, and also just happen to have a counter on his Wojak Bodyguard. A lot of things had to come together for him to eke out that win, and he's got to feel like this is going to be an uphill climb here in Game 3.
Yeah, being on the draw in what is a relatively rough limited matchup. But we've seen Touzani do this in Constructed yesterday. That Game 2. Mm-hmm. This kind of reminded me of that Game 2. Touzani was so far behind, and then drew the Tribunal to get rid of that Experimental Frenzy just before it was too late. Mm-hmm. Then his opponent, got some pressure before his opponent got a Frenzy, bricked a little bit on the Frenzy, and Jeremy was able to take down that Game 2, and then Game 3. But yeah, this is going to be an uphill battle. But wow, that's why you take those sideboard cards, right? That's the value of the sideboard.
Absolutely, and we saw that from Jeremy Touzani here. Let's see if he can piece together what he needs to do to scrap out a 2-1 with a deck that's overall power level really isn't where you want to be. On the other side of the table, though, he's going to have a tough fight here because Nathan Eager on 9-1 has a sweet deck. I mean, this is the type of power level that you hope for. Although a perfect start here for Touzani, he's got the Healer's Hawk.
I love how Healer's Hawk is the perfect start.
It is just a 1-drop, right? It's just, I guess Goblin Banneret perhaps even better, but
no, you're right. Healer's Hawk is better here. Against a 2/2 Vigilance ground creature.
Here it is.
And everything that Nathan's going, Hunted Witness. No, you're right. Healer's Hawk, that's the drop you want.
By the way, there's the second district guard, as it were. That thing got second picked by Jeremy Touzani. By the way, check this out. You said this. This is a real problem. The Centaur Peacemaker here for Nathan Eager is really annoying for Touzani. That is a lot of extra life. Sure, you say, well, both players get it, but it benefits one side more than the other in this case.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And here, Touzani working with, direct currently the 2/2. I think that's correct. There's a lot of convoke creatures in Nathan's deck. So getting rid of a 2/2 going to pay off later with that boar, being able to potentially trade with the Centaur. So that Centaur is not a symmetrical card.
Only appears that way from the outside. That being said, that wasn't a huge loss there for Nathan Eager. The 2/2 is whatever.
However, it is usually, you're correct in that stance, but Jeremy knows about the camaraderie. He doesn't know it's in hand, of course, but he knows it's in the deck. So each creature that Jeremy Touzani can get rid of, that Direct Current is one of the most powerful cards that Jeremy has access to in the deck because it's one of the few actual take off the board removal spells. He has free Luminous Bonds, but Direct Current is the only one that gets creatures off. And look at this attack. Pumping the 10th district card with the Healer's Hawk.
Very nice, Eduardo. Interesting line here from Nathan Eager as well. Normally you want to be patient and run out of as many creatures as you can before casting Venerated Loxodon, and he did have a Devkaran Dissident that he could play out first, and as it turns out, a Sunhome Stalwart as well, though he just drew that. But instead, he decided, you know what? I'm going to be aggressive here, and I'm going to go ahead and play the Venerated Loxodon just off of one creature to make a 4/4, and he's attacking now. And look at this. He's going to play both 2-drops this turn, leaving him with Camaraderie in hand. If he draws an untapped mana here, he could play it next turn to a huge effect.
Yeah, and that's why you see this attack is a little more strange because you could consider, for example, Luminous Bonds on the Loxodon here. Yep. But you get 2/2/2s, and it's very unlikely that Jeremy would have Luminous Bonds plus something to make sure that double block wouldn't work. I think Nathan though is definitely the deck with inevitability. Given infinite time and drawing the deck, Nathan will win the game, especially with that camaraderie in hand, being able to draw a ton of cards. So that's why maybe the center could have stayed back here, make sure nothing wrong can happen. But yeah, here...
This worked out actually well.
Yeah, it did work out well, though.
Especially if he can find a land here, because Jeremy decided not to use Direct Current to take out one of the 2/2s. Those are pretty good cards, too. Does he find a land? He does.
And that's 4 life,
Boom.
4 cards. This is going to be really hard for Jeremy.
Yeah, so effectively Nathan has gained 7 life this game now, making cards.
Sorry, I saw a lot of lands. We're putting that advantage back up.
Okay, yeah. But still, he's going to clear those away off the top of his library now and perhaps get to the good stuff a little bit later. And who's saying that Jeremy doesn't hit a pocket of lands or something like that? The question is, does Nathan want to capitalize on the creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn here, or does he need to stay back on defense? And he's going to capitalize everything in the red zone. Nathan Eager says, you know what, let's get the job done, and quickly. This could backfire on him pretty badly.
I'm really unsure about this attack. Being able to trade a boar for 4/4 is quite advantageous for Jeremy. I mean, here, Nathan is basically I can race you, which is possible. This is a lot of damage. Let's see. Assuming a double block on the Loxodon or the Centaur.
This is attack for 15, just straight up.
Yeah, but it would be the double block for sure. At least will happen, and then the question is anything else. But here it would be free.
Oh, maybe it's 16 actually.
It'd be 11 damage if you double block that venerated Loxodon with the 2 boars. Then it's 11 damage coming through, and Jeremy goes to 25. This is why, I think the block I really like here is 2 boars on the Loxodon or the Centaur, whichever you prefer.
A 4/4.
Yes.
Yes.
You could kill the Stalwart, but having a free against that is already powerful enough. And I think that's the most likely block we're going to see from Jeremy. Jeremy made in Direct Current. The Dissident more powerful than the Sunhome Stalwart at this stage of the game, in my view. And then Nathan would be left with 2 creatures on the board. And I think that depending on on how this combat step goes, Jeremy may be able to navigate the game back in his favor. Remember, these creatures are +1/+1, so the Loxodon's a 5/5, but 2 free-frees, perfectly happy to trade efficiently here.
Jeremy will still take a pretty big hit, but he's at 26 life, so he can afford to do so. And Jeremy's going to make the block that you were thinking as well. And the key here is that after the dust settles on this attack, Jeremy's still at a reasonable life total, and Nathan is now down a 4/4. He still has one on the battlefield, but...
Depending on Jeremy's draw. Okay, so Nathan's still advantaged because Jeremy drew a land here. If Jeremy had drawn a relevant spell here, I would have actually said that the game is quite close because look, between Nathan drawing a bunch of lands and Jeremy still having a board presence, this game is actually a lot closer than I thought it would be.
And you know what? Jeremy said, hey, if you want to pick a fight with me and try to race, I'm in.
Jeremy doesn't have a choice. Jeremy's not winning a game without a race.
That's right. So he's down for that. So he's going to get a big attack here after clearing away the Defcaran Dissident and passing the turn back to Nathan, who he drew 3 lands and a Righteous Blow. He just drew another land off the top. So this is starting to get a little sketchy, although the Righteous Blow is a real removal spell here.
Yeah, it gets rid of the Healer's Hawk right on turn 20 or whatever we are.
Yeah, it's probably damage already done there.
Yeah, but the center, and this is a really tough line for Nathan because Jeremy is just, if Jeremy draws one of those free Luminous Bonds, then Nathan is in real trouble. That free suddenly dominates. And I think at this point, the game is actually pretty even. Nathan can't really put pressure on Jeremy, and I think it comes back to that attack. So now it's a really difficult position.
Yeah, there's too many lands for Nathan, and I wonder what his mental state is. He's just going to pass the turn back. He's got to be thinking back to game number 2 and wondering how that got away from him, and now hoping to hang on here in game number 3. The Healer's Hawk is the only attacker, and it's going to get shot out of the sky with Righteous Blow, so we're now kind of back to even. Nathan at 13, and there it is again. His worst nightmare, the Gravitic Punch of Doom. Gosh, another land off the top, and Nathan Eager is just flooding out hard here. That was Luminous Bump.
Oh my, Jeremy is going to start, the Gravitic Punch is a lot of damage. You could see the kind of mini fist pump there. He's like,
yes,
okay.
That's what I needed. Oh, but he's going to think about it for a minute.
Yeah, it's definitely correct to think about it. Because here's the thing. Nathan has Crushing Canopy.
That's right. It could be an absolute blowout. And that was that head shake. He's like, what if he has Crushing Canopy?
Because Nathan's done nothing, right?
Yeah, he has 4 cards in his hand. And I think Jeremy just asked him, how many cards? And how many of those are Crushing Canopy? And it would make sense that he had it, because he had the Righteous Blow for the Hawk. He has no other targets for it thus far. It's absolutely possible that the cards in his hand that he wouldn't have just played are cards like Crushing Canopy.
Right, and Jeremy really thinking about this, because if Jeremy goes for Luminous Bonds on Peacemaker, on center, and attacks, That's just it. Like, Jeremy is not coming back from that position, but
He's doing
decides, I have to do it.
For it and
it's not going to get better.
And boy, he is going to be so happy when Nathan says no blocks, take 3, and doesn't just lose his board getting gobbled up in combat here. Let's see if Nathan can find something. All right, there we go. He's back in business. He found Rosemane Centaur off the top of the library, and he has fully stabilized this board once again. Go. Nathan's down to 10.
Another luminous bond
off the top. If it worked before, it'll work again. And he's down to 6, and 6 is
seven. Keely, one more.
But this is important because he could just attack with both next turn, and assuming Nathan has nothing, he could kill him over the course of the next 2 turns, and Nathan drew another land.
Yeah, and Jeremy attacking with Boar here.
And that is critical, because now he's down to 4, and Gravitic Punch becomes lethal over the course of the next 2 turns.
Are we going to see the 1-2 punch once again?
We are. It's just going to be a little more separated out, I'd think.
Yeah, and you know, and this comes back to kind of the drawing all these blanks. The attack also, like all of this, like, you know, I think, like, you know, you draw camaraderie, you draw 4 cards, you gain life, you're like, I'm going to get this. And that's where I think the comfort to attack was, and it led to this situation, you know. This
is an unreal number of lands now for Nathan. And as you said, you know, sometimes... Ooh. Wait, what did he draw?
Gerd for battle. I mean...
Okay.
But like, this game, Jeremy going to be able...
He drew a
Wait.
split card. Is he not splashing anything, is he? Oh, it's Response Resurgence?
Yeah, but that's an
not
attacking
good enough.
creature.
And there we go. Wow, so many lands for Nathan Eager, and Jeremy Touzani looks nothing but relieved in the future match area. He got a 2-1 out of that Boros deck and keeps himself on track for who knows what, maybe a top 8. He is now 10-1, and he can breathe a sigh of relief. He gets to set down that set of Boros cards and pick up the other set of Boros cards. He'll be
what a tough match. Jeremy 5-1 with Boros mediums. I guess 10-1, right? This constructed deck is also Boros medium.
Well, his deck got better today in constructed.
Oh, sure.
Because Aurelia picked up Mentor.
That's right.
Which she didn't have prior.
That's true.
You know, but seriously, jokes aside, really awesome stuff from Jeremy Touzani. He's probably going to go back to the table and go, how did I win that? He had to do some serious jumping through hoops.
I feel hard for Nathan. Like that, losing that game 2 feels really hard. I think Nathan took the right lines and just... But the thing is, Jeremy just boarded in that Gravitic Punch and took over that way. That was...
Got the job done.
Yeah.
So... Nathan, though, let's not forget, he's 9-2.
Still an amazing record.
Really good position here, and he can just brush that off as the draft that didn't go right for him in that last round and get back to business.
Yeah, I mean, he was, you know, he still 2-1 the draft. Had a really good record. Almost got that. Like, you know, he drafted really well for, you know, it was a really weak set of packs, and we saw the green decks take over. The Secret and Hatchery Spider and Bounty of Might, apparently.
That's right, facing off against each other. That's going to wrap it up for our limited portion here at Pro Tour Guilds of Ravnica. We're going to take a break now. The players are going to be on their lunch break, and we're going to have a lot of entertaining stuff for you in between. When we come back, we'll be back to standard. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you right after this break.